people are having.
Anybody have a bench session? I'd like to call this meeting to order. Please rise, join with me in reciting the pledge, standing as Kathy Sweet from the Methodist Church leads us in prayer. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Gracious God, we come to you thankful for this community, for all of those folks who have committed their lives to making this a better place. And we just ask that you would guide and lead them this evening in all of their decision making. For it is in Jesus' name that we pray. Amen.
Amen.
roll call, please.
Mr. Frericks?
Here.
Ms. Stevens?
Here.
Ms. Harlan?
Here.
Mr. Reed?
Here.
Ms. Boat?
Here.
Mr. Brock?
Here.
Mr. Burris?
Here.
Mr. Kuhn?
Here.
We have a quorum?
Thank you. There's no public participation this evening, so we move on to the consent agenda. Approval of documents and action items is listed. Claims report, claims dated February 11, 2020 through February 24, 2020. Meeting minutes, City Council meeting minutes, February 10th, 2020. Treasurer's report, January 2020. Budget report, January 2020. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments, questions before we vote?
I had one question on, I noticed that there hasn't been anything yet for the business district. When will we start to see that?
We'll start seeing something in April.
Okay.
That's quarterly, right?
Every month.
Oh, will it be every month?
Okay. So we'll have an idea as we go along how it's doing.
Yeah, and I don't think it was ever intended to really spend too much this year just because we want to see.
Right, yeah.
Okay. Anyone else? Hearing or seeing none, can I have a roll call vote, Jill?
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Frericks?
Yes, ma'am.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on to the mayor's report, I have good news. There isn't one tonight. We don't have any old business. New business, resolution 2020-04. Oops. Must be tip-off. Oh, God. Resolution 2020-04. A resolution approving a temporary license agreement between the City of Monticello and Spencer Atkins concerning the properties commonly known as 416 West Washington Street and 203 North Park Street, Monticello, Illinois. Caljo?
Mayor, if you remember last fall, the city published a request for proposals for redevelopment for the Preston Hill and Reeder Feed Mill properties. We focused that RFP on multi-use development that would complement downtown. I am pleased to say that we have received a proposal that staff is excited about, and the next step would be to allow the developer to gather more information, because what was submitted is a concept. And so we'd like the developer to do a little more homework and due diligence and make sure it's a viable project and kind of tighten the design a little bit, and then staff can review it and see if it's something that is credible. So this process is a temporary license agreement with Spencer Atkins, who you may remember we had a great relationship with the Moore Building and got an excellent project out of that one. But he's the proposed developer for a period of 60 days. This would allow the city to not entertain any other offers and negotiate exclusively with Mr. Atkins, with the end goal being determining the feasibility of the project.
Thank you. Anyone have questions or concerns they'd like to address? Hearing or seeing none, is there a motion to approve resolution 2020-04?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
We didn't have any discussion, so I assume we can move on to a roll call, please. Jill?
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Boat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Frericks?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Let's go on to resolution 2020-05, a resolution approving change order number 1 for remediation of a parcel of property, tract 8. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. As you mentioned, this is a resolution approving change order number 1 for the remediation of Tract 8. A little bit of the background, the City of Monticello began working towards the acquisition and remediation of a parcel of property known as Tract 8 during the remediation of Pepsin Hill in 2005. The city purchased the property from Pfizer in 2016 with the agreement that Pfizer would reimburse the city for remediation costs anticipated not to exceed $180,000. That's always been the figure from day one. The engineering and necessary project oversight and reporting requirements with the IEPA is being facilitated through a contract with the Farnsworth Group for an amount not to exceed $121,177. That was by Resolution 2016-63. In 2019, the contractor's bid for remediation services was awarded to Western Asphalt, Inc. in the amount of $48,455.50 by Resolution 2019-60. To date, the city has expended $105,629.05 on the remediation efforts for Tract 8, with $74,370 remaining in reimbursable expenses. The remediation project includes abandoning the existing monitoring wells on site, removing the top 4 feet of contaminated soil in a certain location on the property, as well as performing the appropriate soil testing and reporting. None of the 9 soil samples submitted to date to the IEPA have received approval. It is the belief of the engineer and the city staff that continuation of soil sampling will substantially increase the cost of remediation, will further delay the remediation efforts, and could very well not receive approval by the IEPA. And to that point, these soil samples have come from our own stockpile of dirt. IDOT right-of-way material has been submitted for approval. Virgin farmland has been submitted for approval, and nearby residential subdivision material has been submitted, all of which of those 9 have been denied. Change order 1 allows for the backfill material to be virgin CA6 aggregate at an increased cost of $13,925.70, or a total adjusted contract price of $62,379.20, and increases the substantial completion date to March 25th, 2020, and final payment date of April 9th, 2020. Those obviously are, the times being extended because of the time that it took for the soil samples and so on and so forth. So they're asking for an extension to time. It is now anticipated that the cost associated with remediation efforts could total $191,127, thus exceeding the reimbursement amount by approximately $11,127. That's if they use all that engineering money of the not to exceed figure. Staff proposes that if these additional expenses are incurred, that those expenses be paid out of TIF 2 as they are eligible expenses. It is recommended that City Council discuss and approve Resolution 2020-05 as presented. I would add they were on site today. They abandoned the wells today and did a little bit of extra stuff, so they're on site and ready to continue forward on these remediation efforts.
Thank you. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-05, a resolution approving change order number 1 for remediation of a parcel of property, Tract 8?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Comments or questions?
So do we think this will bring us to a resolution by the April 9th date?
Yeah, it should.
This page, we won't know 100% for sure.
Yeah, it should.
The EPA said this would take care of it then, right?
Yeah, the CA6
Okay.
does not require the sampling, so as long as they get it from a pre-qualified quarry, Tuscola Stone, wherever,
Yeah.
They could just haul it in, dump it, and done.
Just curious, what were they finding that was so objectionable in the other soils? Or you don't have to say it, but.
I don't
anything
know
in
for
particular?
sure, Tom. The engineer believes that it might be natural arsenic in the ground. It's a natural
Naturally occurring everywhere.
Yeah. I mean, they've tried multiple sites. IDOT right away, like I mentioned, and then I would assume they probably took some dirt from the subdivision work in Mahomet, maybe on the south side of Mahomet. But nothing has been approved today.
Anyone else? Hearing or seeing none, let's have a vote, please.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Coon?
Yes.
Mr. Frerichs?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
And Ms. Bell?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you. Moving on, Resolution 2020-06. A resolution approving an agreement for preliminary engineering services with ESCA Consultants Incorporated for the realignment of North Park Street to Railroad Street. Is there a, we can have a motion to approve. Is there a motion to approve Resolution 2020-06? Then he can explain it all, and we'll have questions.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you. Terry?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. City staff, city councils have discussed possible ways to improve the sight distance at this intersection. I believe you all received an aerial photograph showing the intersection and then showing a conceptual realignment of the road. Anyway, the councils have discussed this for many years, how to improve the sight distance. Have also discussed the possibilities to extend our pedestrian infrastructure in the form of multi-use paths to promote a walkable community. This preliminary engineering design will improve the geometry of the curve, allowing for 2 passable lanes of traffic while incorporating a 10-foot wide multi-use path to promote not only vehicular safety but pedestrian safety as well. It is anticipated in our discussions with the developer of Pepsin Hill that that entity would provide a connecting 10-foot wide multi-use path within the scope of their improvements. So it's always been discussed, you get from the east trail from Cemetery Road to Grant Street through town, all the way over to the Sangamon River Bridge Trail. This is yet one other piece of that puzzle. We recently did the pedestrian crossing at Market Street and Washington Street. This Pepsin property is just a block west, so it is recommended the City Council discuss Resolution 2020-06, the attached supporting documents, and approve Resolution 2020-06 as presented.
Thank you. Any comments?
Are they still doing?
Questions? I'm sorry.
Sorry, Mayor.
That's all right, go ahead.
Are they still doing work? Are they doing work on that concrete wall there on the south side of that pathway? Is that, or is it the other?
That's the other.
Other end of the path.
They did work on that one prior to the Bridge Street one, or Center Street one.
And is that all finished?
I believe that one is all finished.
I just want to give it some street work.
Have it all torn
Carry
down.
through.
Anyone else?
The West Livingston Street from the railroad tracks west to that proposed change right there, that piece of West Livingston will remain as it is.
Yeah, as of right now, there's no preliminary concept for realigning Livingston or Washington streets.
I mean, it obviously is going to make the railroad street portion better by that large curve, but almost an impossible right-hand turn off of West Livingston to go north on that new road. You
Yeah.
might make it with a car, but you certainly couldn't make it with a truck.
Yeah, they'll put the turning radius in there, Wendell. I apologize for that. I didn't show your normal 25-foot back of curb radius there.
Okay, thank you.
Anyone else? Hearing or seeing none, can we have a vote, please, Bill?
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Foat?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Kuhn?
Yes.
Mr. Friericks?
Yes, ma'am.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Motion passes.
Thank you very much. Moving on to aldermen's and women's reports. I'll start with Mary.
I want to thank Terry Summers and the city staff. I had a chance to come by a couple of weeks ago and just meet everyone here at the city building and have a few minutes of their time and learn more about what they do. And it's pretty impressive when you get in here and see all of the people who are working for Monticello. So I appreciate the opportunity.
Thank you.
Wendell?
Nothing in particular. Thanks out to the city street department, I guess. I've seen the guys out in the last few days with the trucks, cleaning out the drains. It's a constant job, but something that needs to be done all the time. I know they're working in my end of town. I appreciate what they're doing, because they're certainly getting into the time of year when water's become a factor pretty quick. So.
Thank you. Rod?
Thanks for the city staff, because they were on that Sunday morning, that they got a lot of heat for the mess that they had, but they fixed a lot of stuff very early in the morning and had the
I
roads
cannot
back.
believe people complained about
I can't.
what they did.
Oh,
That's
come on, man.
We created a pothole.
But I'm driving to church on Sunday morning to go to work, and these guys are out working too. I thought, yeah.
That's a state route to boot, so I think it's fantastic what they did.
They really,
I'm
really
I'm
are.
always on our side, that's
Yeah.
their side, that's great.
Great job.
Yeah. Mike?
Nothing.
Thank you. Thomas?
Yeah, really nothing.
Pam?
Nothing tonight.
Tim?
Nothing.
John?
Well done to the MAF for putting on the fundraiser that they had over the weekend out in Allerton. That was a really good crowd there, so hopefully they raised a lot of money.
Did you behave?
Yes, for the
Okay,
fourth
just
time.
checking.
I didn't win any auction items, but that's okay. I probably didn't spend money, so. But they did a great job, so I hope they raised a lot of money.
I do too.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's it, thanks.
Police chief's report?
Just give you an update on where we're at for our testing process. Applications closed Friday at 5. Testing will be this Saturday. And by the 7th, we should have our list applied.
We did have some that applied.
We had some.
Okay, that's good.
And we'll do the testing this Saturday, and then interviews will be on the 7th.
Okay, very good, thank you. Terry, city administrator's report?
Just a couple things, Mr. Mayor. To Alderman Burris's comments about the water main break, it's inevitable this time of year. It happens year round, but on a Sunday morning, the guys were out there. They appreciate, the thank yous that they hear. Sometimes they get cookies brought to them or whatever. So, one thing to note to those efforts, they do those water main breaks live. So they don't shut the water main down, so there's no boil order. They do that live and to prevent the boil orders. So what they do is phenomenal, day in and day out, and they appreciate the kudos, they really do. And I wish Jim Gabarzik was here, the Public Works Director, because he was out there in the thick of things. And there just so happens to be we've got 2 traffic signals, that's one of them. And Champagne Signal and Light had to be called out there on site to fix that. So it was a joint effort and a lot of communication and logistics of everything in short order. So I would definitely echo those sentiments. And then to Jim usually is here tonight. He had a family situation occur, and he came in this morning to talk to me, and he said him and his wife moved here 7 years ago, and the outpour of community members really floored him and his family. So him and his wife are very appreciative of this community, as I believe that all of us are. So kudos to the community in itself. That's all I have.
Thank you. At this time, the council is going to go into closed session for the purpose of discussing some real estate purchase or lease and setting price for sale or lease of property. We'll when we come out, we'll just adjourn the meeting, there will be no votes. Okay, so thank you for attending if you're here. And could we vacate?
Do we need a motion?
Yeah, can we have a motion to go into closed session?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
I need a roll call, please. You pick whoever you want. They just scream.
Just kidding.
I do. Mr. Kim?
Yes.
Mr. Burris?
Yes.
Mr. Brock?
Yes.
Ms. Vogt?
Yes.
Mr. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Harlan?
Yes.
Ms. Stevens?
Yes.
Mr. Ferris?
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Motion passes.